July 27th meeting of the Lake Forest Historic Preservation Commission. Commission's here tonight to work together with all of you, property owners, neighbors, architects, to continue the tradition that was established nearly 40 years ago in this community. The tradition is a review process that allows the community members to work together to preserve the qualities and the unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open and democratic meetings. To achieve that goal, meeting procedures have been adopted by the Commission, and a copy of the procedures is available at the back of the room on each agenda. As always, it's the intent of the Commission to help manage the development and the growth of the City of Lake Forest with a keen sense of preserving the historic structures and open space in the city for all its present and future residents. Our goal is to move each petition before us tonight through the review process quickly, a little too quickly, and as possible while balancing the interests of the petitioners, neighboring property owners, and the larger community. Thanks for that. We'll start with the introduction of the commissioners.
Mary Ellen Swenson.
Guy Berg.
Kurt Peretz.
Bill Ransom.
And let's see, we've got meeting minutes from our June 22nd meeting. I don't know if anyone has any comments. I didn't see any comments sent around. Has everybody had a chance to see these, and are there any comments? All right, I see no comments, so I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Berg.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Swenson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have 4, so that means there's no nays. And so that motion passes, and we can put those minutes aside. Thank you.
We did have a request asking you to speak up.
Ah. I need a longer microphone.
I don't think the mic's on.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear it? There you go.
Hello.
Okay. All right, well, former Commissioner Virginia McTier would second your motion on that. She always said I spoke too quietly. So, we approved the minutes for the June 22nd meeting. Our first agenda item is a continued petition for a request for a certificate of appropriateness for approving the construction of a detached garage and landscape wall at 815 Barbary Lane. And I'll ask the commissioners, I think that we've seen this before, so we don't have any ex parte conflicts from our previous request, I believe. I think everybody was here for that, so thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Peretz, commissioners. Thank you very much for coming and listening to our presentation tonight. Again, joined by the homeowners now, Bridget and John Doheny. And last time they were the contract purchasers, but they've closed on it, so they now own it. And we're very excited to continue this petition. And as you know, last time we were here asking for a semi-attached garage. And what we've done is taken a lot of the commissioners' recommendations and comments from the first meeting and carefully studied options again. And we feel we've come up with a really great solution, very simple, very elegant, and I think very successful solution to attaining some additional storage. So just to familiarize yourself with the house, we have a view here of the front elevation. These were taken in the spring. And you can see that there's a lot of existing vegetation. This is a view looking southeast on the street. This is a very good view of the home because it illustrates a view towards where the garage is going to be. And it's very wooded, and part of our presentation is going to include a landscape plan presentation as well to really further enhance the landscape that's already very mature and great for screening any work that we're going to be doing there. So this is a view from the neighbor's driveway at the foot of their driveway. So this is the neighbor to the west and looking towards the Doheny's property, and you can see approximately there is where the garage is going to be. You can't, the house is right here, you can't see it. And this is taken in the spring, so it's very much filled in since then. Here we have a close-up photograph of the home, and what we're presenting as part of our presentation is a garden wall, a 3'6" garden wall that attaches to the home right at this corner and extends 50 feet to the west. There is an opening in the middle, a driveway opening, so we can gain access to the 2-car detached garage. You can see there are many windows on this home. Also, there are 2 very prominent windows on the west elevation here. This is a view along Woodbine towards the home. This is the existing addition that was built in 1997. Here are some more streetscape views. Just gives you an idea of the neighborhood again, of what's occurring along both sides of the streets. It's heavily wooded, nicely landscaped. It's beautiful. So let's go right to the site plan. This is where we're currently presenting the garage. And as you can see, it's a two-car detached, and the garage doors are inward facing. I don't know if you can remember, last time we were here, it was facing the street. So now we've turned it inwards. We've created this great courtyard here, which has a really nice outdoor room feel to it. You can see the garden walls flanking the driveway, attaches to the existing corner of the home, and also engages the two-car garage. It conforms to all setbacks. It conforms to the zoning and the bulk regulations. So it is, we're not asking for any variances for this project. You can see the spur off the existing driveway, so no additional curb cuts are asked for at this time either, or will be. So I think it's a great solution. It doesn't crowd the home. It's going to look like it's been there and established once it's in. And I also want to show you some of the alternatives that we studied based on some comments, again, from the first meeting that we had. So we looked at a garage also conforming in this corner of the home. So a few negatives with putting, well, many negatives of putting in this corner. One of the major ones is there's this original garden wall that's in the backyard too. So that's in the way. There are very mature trees. These are oaks, and so those are also in the way of a driveway. And then we have an additional curb cut that would have to be done to accommodate that. And plus, it's, you know, becomes a focal point of the existing home. So we felt that that was not the best solution for this property at all. As you know, we've considered quite strongly the addition of a garage there to the existing garage, but that, because of its total nonconformity, became not an option. So we pursued that with city staff, and that was not going to happen. So we took that off the table. And last time we had a similar option to this. We had a breezeway before, but this one shows an attached garage. And the big negative on that is that it covers up those two great windows that are on the house. One's a master bedroom window on the second floor, and the first floor is the den. So we thought it affected negatively the existing home, and felt that that was an appropriate solution to this project. So we felt by detaching it with that courtyard was a really elegant, simple approach, and with effective landscaping and screening, it's going to be a wonderful solution. So I'll go on to the elevations. Here's the front elevation, and you can see it's a very simply detailed proposal. Taking cues from the existing home, it is a very simple design, not a lot of ornament on it. So we took that as kind of the basis for the design of the garage and the wall. There are two garden walls in the front of the home that are low, about 2'4" tall. They're whitewashed common brick, lime-washed common brick with a bluestone cap. So our material palette is going to match identically the materials that are in the existing home. So Chicago common brick with a lime wash on there, windows that are double hung 6/9, shutters that match the home, a slate roof. Again, keeping it simple. There is a very subtle X pattern on the front of the home in the brick. They're projected out, very subtle. We're not going to do that. We thought that's only on the major bass. Since this is a subsidiary element, we felt that simple was the way to go. Obviously, there are ways to dress it up and put more ornamentation on the garage, but we felt the cues that we're getting from the home are simplicity, elegance, so we want to maintain that. So other views. This is from the rear elevation. So there's the garage, and here's the main house. This is an elevation looking from the west. So this is the two-car garage here, and all the rest is 50 feet beyond. So this is what's inward facing the home, and we have these carriage-type doors, with glass and shutters on the garage door. Again, all detailing to match the existing home. As far as the rake moldings, the eave moldings, any other detail that we can take from the home, we will match. So here's a landscape plan, and I don't know if Craig, if you wanted to speak to the landscape. All right, let's do it. If you want to. There you go.
Hi, my name is Craig Bergman. I own Craig Bergman Landscape Design. We've been hired to do a full property plan, but for this exercise, we're just showing, in essence, what we would do immediately around the new construction. I think one of the key elements about the placement of the garage, the size of the court, and just the placement on the property is that, as you can see with the strong form of the circle drive already, that this radius is very complementary. It attaches well just beyond the edge of the garden wall, and it provides for a center court access, which if, let's say, the winter view from the street, the central core access through, we would have an ornamental gate, an evergreen hedge, and a planting bed on the inner edge of the hedge. So in essence, when one looks through this gap, whether it's from the property or from the street, this feels very much like a courted garden, as distinct from a driveway to a garage. We for sure would maintain the surfacing of the length of the driveway here to be gravel to match with the Merrimack gravel that's already on the drive. And then interior here to be a little more children-friendly. We're thinking of either using brick or granite cobble or something, so it feels more like a true courtyard. There are first-story windows that look out onto this structure, so it's important to me to be able to green this space as well as provide function for new storage. So with the hedging that'll be here, it would be reminiscent in height or a little bit higher than what the garden wall is. There will be a pair of ornamental trees in front of the wall that's the only wall besides the building wall here. And then to maintain a plane that references the buildings, there would be a low stone retaining wall that would support the planting bed on the south or the backyard side, with a set of ornamental steps with a walkway that leads you down to this big lawn. The thing that I favor most about this location of the garage is that there's one kind of root strangled by nature, Norway maple that sits here, and there's an old garden remnant of some old Hicks yews here, and a dead hawthorn. So there's nothing of the key heritage trees, which are all throughout the backyard and the front, that are affected by this new construction. And I'm a tree hugger. What we're suggesting to do on the west side, which right now is just a big bed of agapodium or goutweed, if you know the common name, it's just a ground cover bed, and it goes right to the property line. And within the property line, within 5 feet on both sides of the property line, there's a mature collection of 3 or 4 big Norway spruce already. And those were obviously planted to diffuse the 2 houses from one another way back when, but they branch from the ground up to about 15 feet, so there's no screening right now. So we're following the lead of nature. The Norway spruce have been here for 50 years, so we're proposing to add Norway spruce to this buffer. And what it does is it actually, we can't see on this tandem site plan here, but the neighbor's 3-car garage is approximately right here, with their driveway coming in here. So this screening will diffuse the view of the neighbor's garage for us and the view of the new construction for them. And then we're thinking that instead of just being Norway spruce, we more than likely would interplant with something like Western arborvitae, which are both the Norway spruce and the Western arborvitaes are deer-proof, because as you know, in this section of town there's quite a few deer, and there's a very open feel to the way these properties on Barberry ooze from one place to another, and we're trying to keep that feeling so everybody's sharing in the landscape instead of putting up a huge separation. This wooded area up here that John called a woods is actually just volunteer trees. It's box elder, Norway maple. Luckily, there's no common buckthorn in there at all. But we are looking to, in the finished plan, to actually start introducing young hardwood trees like bur oak or swamp whites that are occurring elsewhere on the property. And as the new trees become more mature, then we'll take out some of the lesser trees, with the forester. But the point is this is always intended to be a woodland type of a setting, and any additional planting we put into here will only help the screening of the new construction. Does that help?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right, do we have a staff report?
Not much to add
All right.
after all of that. We did hear from a neighboring property owner. Still, I think the preference would be to not have the garage added, but the neighbor did express appreciation for the efforts of the property owners, particularly the efforts to screen the west property line. From staff perspective, I think the solution is a creative one. I think it does respond to the issues that the commission raised. It does very clearly separate the garage from the existing house. The garage, as proposed, is set back more than 80 feet from the street, Barberry Lane, and as described, there is significant vegetation. So staff does recommend support of this petition, and you have findings in your staff report as well as some recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you. All right, do we have any questions for the petitioner or the staff from commission members?
I was just going to ask that you said the neighbor's comment, that was the neighbor to the west?
Yes.
Okay.
I love it. Well done.
I have no questions.
Sorry.
No questions? She loves it.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it really responded well to the comments we had last time, and, I'm pleased with what you brought forth.
Great. All right, well, we'll ask if there's any public testimony then on this issue, and I see none of that either, so that's good. We can deliberate, but it sounds like everybody's pretty good with this one. I would second that general feeling. I think it's a nice creative solution. I think that it's a garage I wouldn't mind having, so that's always a good test. I'll ask for a motion.
I'd move to approve the petition based on findings in the staff report and with the recommendations. Are these conditions of approval? I'm seeing here?
I think there's
They are at the end of the
conditions
staff
at the end,
report.
Conditions of approval on listed in the staff report,
including the landscape plan.
including the landscape plan.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Commissioner Ransom. Do I have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Berg. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I think that one passes as well, all four. Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, you think that this guy's got so much going on, you're going to start to look at it. When you drive by, you notice. Yeah.
All right, our next petition is another continued petition. This is a request for a certificate of appropriateness approving the construction of an addition at 30 North Awani Road. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, is this on? Can you hear me?
I can.
My name is Scott Stradiff, and I'll be presenting this continued petition tonight on behalf of the owners Ed and Marie Pasquesi. This petition was originally presented at the May 25th meeting, at which time it was continued, and you as the commissioners provided the following comments relative to the proposed design. What you see up here is what was originally presented. And in response to this design, Commissioner Berg discussed the hierarchy of elements on the existing residence and questioned whether the additional gable that we were proposing would confuse the house and compromise the significant front elevation. He stressed the importance of asymmetry on this house as a defining feature to the front elevation. Commissioner Swenson and Dr. Art Miller commented that rather than the rounded bay window in the back of the house, which you see in the lower elevation, consideration of a form more consistent with the Tudor vocabulary might be appropriate. Commissioner Swenson suggests that the rounded bay element is too modern a form for this style of house. Mr. Chairman, you generally stated support for the construction of the sunroom in the proposed location, but also felt that the design should remain asymmetrically balanced and more respectful of the existing dominant features of the house. So in response to that and to address these concerns, we have made the following modifications to the design. Regarding the composition of the front elevation, we have eliminated the additional full timbered front-facing gable from the design, and in lieu of the gable, we are proposing a much smaller dormer with a clipped gable. The face of this new dormer will be set back approximately 4 feet from the face of the existing more dominant double gable over the front entry, and the one-story eave line will remain intact, consistent with the original design. This is just a side elevation where this kind of shows the relationship between the larger double gable that's existing and the proposed dormer with the clipped, which you can also see in the massing model as well. Regarding the inconsistency of the rear bay window to the Tudor style, we have designed a much smaller 3-sided bay with a copper standing seam roof in lieu of the larger circular bay. In addition to these revisions, and in an effort to further subordinate this addition and show distinction between the existing and new elements, we have dropped the main ridge over the addition by 6 inches. This is just a plan. I want to just show this again because we're really working off this main axis of circulation in the house. There's a series of arches, and you kind of circulate through this house enfilade, and we're looking to sort of repeat the arches and then resolve it as sort of and continue the arches in the window detailing, sort of as a bookend to the end of the house. That just shows the arches on the interior. This is a section cut through the house showing kind of the resulting spaces that we have on the interior. Here again is that main central axis of circulation. We're vaulting this, this part of the garden room slightly as you walk into it, and then the balance of this is going to be at the same ceiling height as the rest of the house, which is 8 feet 4 inches. This here is the level of the second floor. There's a small archway that you can access from the master bedroom. We've sort of minimized the clearances here in the roof line in order to gain access to that space. And then you step up 3 up into that small dormer that you see in the front of the house. And this is just the resulting second floor plan. You also requested that we clarify the roofing material that will be used on the new and existing roof. We are proposing to remove the existing asphalt shingle roof, which will be replaced with cedar shingles. This was the intent of the original design as documented in the original drawings. Beyond that, the homeowner is committed to endeavor to use the highest quality materials and construction techniques, artists and artisans, to achieve the best possible match to the existing elements, as well as to be sensitive to the existing elements during construction. The windows will be custom made to match the existing detailing and true divided lights. So with that, we hope this board has a clear understanding of our intent for this project. The Pasquesis love their home and the neighborhood and are very excited about the potential of utilizing the southern end of this house and property. So for these reasons, we request that you approve the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll ask for a staff report on this one as well.
Thank you, Chairman Peretz. This item was continued from the May Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Just an overview, the request before the commission tonight is for the partial demolition of the existing porch. That porch has been modified since the house was originally constructed. It was an open porch. It has been enclosed. The intent of this project is to expand that porch and really gain a little more living space in that part of the house. At the May meeting, as the petitioner mentioned, the commission really commented on making sure that the proposed addition doesn't overpower or compete with the defining features of the house, which are the double gables at the front entrance. The petitioner has modified the design. The footprint is generally the same with the exception of some modification to the bay in the back, but the major modifications have come to the front with the reduction of that single gable to a more subordinated dormer addition. There is some landscaping proposed to screen, well, maybe not screen, but soften the transition between the existing house and the new addition. And this was one where staff really encouraged the petitioner to build a model to show the commission. So I'm pleased to see that one has been presented to you tonight to really see where that dormer falls in the front elevation and how it will impact the front of the house. Staff is recommending support of the petition this evening. There are some conditions of approval I'd be happy to go over or answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Megan. All right, first of all, I want to also say thanks for the model. It's very helpful, and we can see we're studying it. So something about the third dimension that really helps when you're looking at this stuff, so appreciate that. Any questions or comments for the presenter or the staff?
It's okay. I appreciate what you've done here, reducing the mass, and the thing that strikes me about your proposal, and maybe it should have been something that struck me before, but the arched windows seem out of place with the rest of the design of the house. Have you looked at alternatives to these arched windows in the garden room? I understand from your presentation that they're trying to pull through the arched doorway elements in the interior, but from the exterior, it seems to, draw your attention to the addition, which I think the commission, my understanding is the commission, want to get away from that and, not make that a dominant, the new addition a dominant feature. So, but I think that really draws you to that because it, it's out of place. So I'd just like to hear your comments on that.
Yeah, I think we'd be willing to do a different window style. We feel that it's a nice element to repeat since it's existing on the inside of the house. And there's also quite a few examples of this type of triple arch or the arches that you can see that Stanley Anderson has done throughout some different projects in the area. So I felt like it was consistent with what something that firm might have done. And but we certainly would be willing to consider a different approach, different window style.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering what my fellow commissioners think about that. I might be the only one who feels like that, but that was my only question.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, do you want to go?
No, I like the bay, thank you. In fact.
Yeah, it's really
That's a
amazing
big
how much is,
improvement.
yeah,
Isn't
it? It's really how much you really listened to what we said. In general, and you took the trouble to make the model. And I think before we saw a model of just the piece, right? And that piece, just the model was pretty exquisite because of what it was, and so forth. I really appreciate it. I think you handled the dormer so well that I think that's going to disappear from my list of possible concerns, and you're very skillful at this stuff. You know, the one thing that I'm wondering about, and you've really done so many nice things, it would really be kind of nice if you could lower the ridge of this a little bit more. And I know what you're trying to do is preserve space, and that becomes an issue that's really kind of a hard thing to do. But in general, I really think you've done a lot of wonderful things here with scale, et cetera. It's just that when I look at this, and even possibly in that picture from the essence of the original home, it really read like it stopped here. And I know you're trying to pack a lot of stuff in the trunk, and you're so good at it that it's coming out well. And I'm just wondering, though, that now the house reads like a really long ridge roof. I'm looking at your section, and you've got a 4-foot knee wall in that hallway, which is really rough to lower. So I'm not sure how the other people feel about it, but I've got to say, you've done a lot of really nice things with this. How do you feel about trying to deal with lowering this part? Is that something you've really probably,
We've studied that quite a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
the hard part is there's it's under 4 feet. The ceiling clip already is under 5 feet in the existing house, and there's 2x6 rafters. So
along the back here?
right. So
Yeah.
we can't use 2x6 rafters, and we're trying to, we need to have a bigger structural element, and we need to try and maintain access to that, into that space. Any more, and we really, start to lose the possibility of being able to,
Yeah.
to use that second floor.
Yeah, I'm afraid he's got a good point there. Okay, well, thank you for your explanation. The bay window does look a lot more English Tutory on the back. That should really come out quite nice.
Yeah, looks great.
Thank you.
And let me ask you, the section drawing shows the roof over the new, well, over this front part here, if you will, as an eyebrow, as a turn? Is that what it's going to be? Or, the model shows it as a abrupt change, and then the section shows it as a curve? What's the...
I think the idea will be to have the minimal amount of pitch to that roof, and it's it's probably going to be where the eave line will bump out, but then when you're standing down at eye level, you're not going to really see a roof line above the gutter that projects, and we'll have a slight pitch to that will go into the.
So it wouldn't be a gutter between the two roof pieces. It would transition.
The gutter will probably come along the eave line and bump out and around that.
It's a tricky little detail, and I'm sure it's one that you probably haven't spent too much time on, hoping that the whole thing gets approved first. But I do think that you want to just, that's a tricky little detail right there. It's also kind of an opportunity to help, Guy, one of the things you're trying to do here is subordinate this part of the house from that part of the house, so that roof line helps that. It's almost like there's almost so little change there that you can see how a bigger change is helpful. When this roof line falls together, if this comes down a little bit more, it helps bring this down somehow in my eye too, although I'm not sure it's that important. It's just a question for you on how that was handled. Any other questions or comments? We've got deliberations yet to come, so let's get the questions out of the way if we have any for the...
The arched window point is a good one, now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Anybody else?
Well, I have some comments about that, but I don't have any questions about it, I don't think, so.
Okay.
All right, I'll ask if there's any public testimony on this project then, if anyone wants to come forward. And I see no public testimony, so we're moving right along tonight, which is great. Yeah, I think now's the chance for us to deliberate, so I'll deliberate a little bit with you guys. It's interesting, from my perspective, is a little bit of a confusion of the hierarchy of materials remains in this house. And if you look at how some of these Tudors are built, the limestone with the formalized entry would usually occur at the main front door. It's occurring in a different spot here. And I think it's okay, because I think that there's a lot of inconsistency about how that's applied. In reality, it's not like there's a formula that you have to use. So it just becomes a challenge of how do you maintain that, here's the front door, here's the rest of the house kind of approach to this. And so I see what Commissioner Ransom is talking about in terms of that end of the house still kind of fighting the front door for, for prominence, if you will. And so that's why I look at that roof piece, and I wonder if there's an opportunity either between bringing down the top of those arches and letting that roof roll out as, kind of a little more of a shed roof, or some other nuance. But I do think it's a nuance, and I do think that what you've done is I hope you feel good about it, because I think that it's an improvement over what we saw. I think it goes a long way towards preserving the original design intent of the house. And, I applaud that. So I like what I'm seeing, and I think we're down to the level where we like to be, which is getting nitpicky, which is, that's a good sign. So, I wouldn't get too worked up about our deliberation if we're talking about nitpicky stuff, because that's good. That's a good sign. So, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. About it's a good sign that we're worrying about something like the height of the ridge and the addition. You've done so many nice things here, and the overall effect is quite lovely. I actually can see where you're coming from with the arcuated opening lining up with the arcuated opening in the house, and if you could have found some examples in town where he mixed his metaphors a little bit with styles, that would have helped you, I think, and he probably has done that. Can you guys hear me all right? I can. I think I'm all right with the arches. I see your point, and it's a good one, and it's observant, but it's not offensive to me because you've done such a beautiful job with it. It's exquisite, and the room is exquisite, and this isn't a really super big house. So I think that expansion from the arcuated hallway out into a room out into the landscape is a positive thing for the home, in that it makes it more attractive for the occupant, and thereby helps its viability over time. So I'm okay with that, and I guess I'm okay with everything you've done. If there was a way for you to trick that ridge down, I would like you to maybe give it another pass. I'm not going to make it a condition for myself at any rate. There was a trick that Shaw did on the house over on Sheridan. I think it's the Durand House, could it be? That's part of Lake Forest College, the red brick house. It's kind of like two houses shifted in plan. And he did an interesting thing. He has a regular ridge, and then on the part that is a little bit subordinate, he actually curved the roof on top, in almost like a thatch. And the two are side by side. And when you're really good, you can get away with that. And if you did that on this, it might have an interesting effect to the house. And I want to design it, but it would certainly get you to knock that down a good maybe 10 inches or more. You'd have to lower the ridge on your dormer, but you can probably figure out how to do that. You'd have to ice and water shield the round part and maybe bend the shingles, or maybe switch to a different kind of roof covering. Maybe it could be copper, I don't know. But that might help. And then the end elevation of this piece then would be subordinate, in that it would be kind of cowering and bending a little bit. You kind of understand what I mean? Almost give it a pseudo thatch look, like some of the buildings that have the bent shingles. And maybe that might get you something, I don't know. And maybe it's a bad idea, but you might give it a try.
Well, I appreciate the comments of the commissioners about the arched windows. I still think they look out of place. I'm not going to make it a condition of approval either. I trust that that there's going to be some landscaping nearby that will, soften that and show that it's subordinate to the other parts of the house. So, I can live with that. I do think that the petitioner has done a good job in taking the comments that the commissioners had last time and incorporating them. So I would approve the petition as is, and with, the idea that you may want to think about changing the arch windows, but again, I'm not going to make it a condition of approval.
All right, any other deliberations? And I think we're good, so I'll ask if there's a motion.
I would move to approve the petition as proposed based on the recommendations in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval found therein.
So moved by Commissioner Ransom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Berg. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed nay. And we have a four-person vote, so that's good. That motion passes. Congratulations. Thanks for your patience with us.
Nice job on that. Can't remember the name of that house. I think it's the Durand House. It's a little courtyard place.
All right, we have a new petition before us. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness approving alterations on elevations of an interior courtyard at 111 West Westminster. And I'll ask the commission if there's any ex parte conflicts. And I see
Well, I had an ex parte contact with the architect, but
you did.
sure, when I went there, and that doesn't matter.
Okay.
I did too.
You did?
And it didn't matter to me either.
Okay.
Let's go.
So noted.
It's a cool place.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm David Holton, and I'm presenting on behalf of Liam and Francesca Connell, who have recently purchased this house and have been residing here since early spring. This is commonly known as the Noble Brandon Judah Estate, and it was designed by Philip Lippincott Goodwin and completed in 1928. This is actually, this photo only encompasses a portion of the original estate. It used to extend from Green Bay Road all the way west to the Skokie drainage ditch. But the property has been subsequently divided into many parcels, and right now the parcel that we're discussing, it looks like I lost my pointer, there we go, encompasses the tennis courts and the formal gardens and then the property line this way. So the building is actually encompassing a courtyard on, with building surrounding it on 4 sides. And while the, I guess the reason that the Connells purchased the property is because they really fell in love with the historic nature and the condition of this property. It's very much intact from original, including the gardens, even though it's been subdivided. And their intent is really to become a steward of this property and preserve it in its original state. With the exception of this wing, which is the original servant's kitchen. And that's it was typical of an estate of that era that was divided into very small pantries and hallways and really has no connection to the landscape and the exterior. So it's the Connells' desire to actually create more of a live-in kitchen, more of a family gathering area. And so it's our proposal to insert French doors on this wall, taking advantage of this beautiful courtyard in the center of the building. Right now, this is the actual drive court, and you enter into this courtyard actually through the building, continue through the courtyard to the main gallery in the house. And so there really is no part of the building that takes advantage of this courtyard other than walking through it. The spaces on the north, west, and the south are all gallery spaces, so there really are no rooms that are directly connected to it. So we looked at this as an opportunity to take advantage of connecting a living area of the building to this really wonderful space. So this is the kitchen wing that we propose to remodel. And while it will be remodeled, the intent is to maintain the integrity of all the exterior walls in their original state, with the exception of these 2 areas where we intend to take out some half timbering and brick, 2 small windows, and insert French doors in their place. A little larger view of the same area. So we're intending to take out this wall, which forms a hallway right now that separates the kitchen area from this courtyard. So this is the view of the north wall. This is actually the foyer of the building that you walk through to get into this courtyard. You continue through, and then this is the actual main front entry leading into the formal gallery. This is the west courtyard wall, and these are the windows that we are proposing, or windows and French doors that we are proposing to duplicate exactly and insert on the east wall. So this is the wall where we propose to insert the French doors, and flanking each side, sorry, I'm having problems with my pointer here. Here we go. So right in this area, we propose to remove the window and the half timbering on each side of this fountain and insert the new French doors. So here's a comparison where on the upper view, we're showing the original, and on the lower view, we're showing what the resultant wall will look like. So it actually works out really well where the timbering geometry happens to be identical to the size of the French door, so that we can pull out brick and timbering and actually insert those doors into those openings. And this is a view of a more complete elevation of how it will look when it's completed. So I think that what's really working out well is that there's really nice symmetry on the central part of the courtyard where the doors are flanking the original fountain. That centers on the original center of the courtyard. Even though the roof line and the existing dormers and windows are actually a little bit asymmetrical in terms of centering on the courtyard, the part that we're working on actually will be very much centered. So I think it's a fairly straightforward proposal. We do intend to duplicate the doors identically. They're actually very intricate with hand carving between the mullions. All the light sizes, muntins, everything would be identical. And so that actually concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. And we'll look for a staff report again.
Thank you, Chairman Peretz. This is really a unique petition. It's a request that impacts the exterior wall of an interior courtyard. This is a unique property. It's a very significant historic house. It's been well preserved over the years. And hopefully the commissioners were able to visit the interior courtyard earlier this week. And you had to actually go through the house in order to access the interior courtyard. The proposed modifications, I don't have very many comments to add to the petitioner's presentation, but it really seems that the proposed modification will provide for more functionality and access to the courtyard with minimal impact to the rhythm of openings that's found in that interior courtyard. Staff recommends approval of the project with one condition, that as this, if the commission finds it appropriate to issue a certificate of appropriateness tonight, that with the permit set, enough information is included that we really understand that the detailing will be replicated during construction. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Megan. And questions? Comments?
David, just so I'm clear, the hand carving that's on the where the French doors are now,
Yes.
that's going to be duplicated.
Yes.
Are the materials the same, or because that would seem rather old on the existing French doors? I don't know if you're working with the same materials or it's different.
Well, we will work with the same species of material,
Okay.
and you know, we'll investigate whether we should get reclaimed timbers to work with. That might be something that we do. We may even have the opportunity where we pull out some half timbering to use certain parts of certain timbers for certain parts of the doors, possibly to do some of the carving work. So I think there's a lot of options there that are going to be able to allow us to duplicate that. The other aspect of these timbers is that they're white oak and they're stained almost black, I mean a charcoal, very dark. So I think that's going to help us really to be able to duplicate what's currently there, even if it is a little bit newer of wood.
Okay. And as far as the detailing from the staff level, how is that, you know, are plans submitted or pictures, digital pictures? How is it assured that that's followed?
I think it'd be a combination of all of those, detailed photographs, drawings of specific details if appropriate. For the permit drawing, we would need an actual elevation that shows dimensions and the like. So we would just ensure that that comes forward.
All right.
That's all the questions I have.
All right, so I see no other questions. I'll ask if there's any public testimony on this item. And I see no public testimony, so it's an opportunity for us to deliberate. And this is what they call a no-brainer.
Great.
It's a really nice looking proposal. The devil's in the details, of course, so I appreciate staff's condition that the details be included in the plans for their permit package, but I'll ask for a motion.
I'd move to approve the petition subject to the conditions in the staff report.
A motion's been made by Commissioner Ransom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Berg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and I heard 4 ayes, so that another pass. Congratulations, thank you. It's a nice-looking project. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see it, actually, but I think that that one's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's a spectacular building.
Yeah. All right, we have a new petition. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness approving the replacement and modification of the front entrance at 45 South Sheridan Road. And I'll ask if we have any ex parte conflicts on this matter. And I see none.
Hi, my name is Miguel Lara, and I'm the architect presenting the project for Jim and Diane Cutler. Their project is located at 45 South Sheridan Road in Lake Forest. The original house, as you can see on the first picture there, was originally designed in 1916 as the powerhouse for the McCormick estate. And it was then later turned into a single-family residence in the 1950s. Later on in the 1970s, it had some additions and renovations done to the house, and the glass entry porch that you see there on the first and second picture on the bottom was added on as an entry feature to the home. The homeowners would like to demolish the existing porch and replace it with something that would be more architecturally in keeping with the original house. Right now, it's a metal structure with single pane glass. It is heated, so they do use that quite a bit, and would like to continue to use it, but they would like to have something that's a little bit more traditional looking. They would like to replace it with a mahogany post and beam structure that would be the same size. It would keep the same footprint. The foundation would remain. We're only looking to remove the structure itself. You can see a little bit of the elevation on the bottom right-hand side of the existing house. The home is pretty unique. It has a lot of great detailing. The tower itself is a pretty unique feature. The eaves, the trim around the windows, the medallions, the home just has a lot of character. And when you first walk up to it, you notice all the architectural features, and the existing glass entry just stands out as something that pretty obviously doesn't belong to the original structure. What we're looking to do is to replace it, like I said, with a post and beam construction, and just clad it with similar details to the existing house. It would have wood painted trim, stucco. We would have similar medallions on the entry gable. The bottom half of the existing house is brick with a texture to it that almost resembles like a rough stucco. We would do that on the sides of the of our new entry porch. And then the gable itself would match the top gable of the existing house, which would be wood trim with actual stucco in it. We have a couple little medallions. It's hard to see on that small picture, but those medallions would also duplicate those medallions above the double hungs on the main gable. The roof itself would have skylights in between the beams, and the remaining roof would be a standing seam copper roof. The windows would also fall in between these posts that we would line up with the beams, and that's how we came up with the casement windows. With the same, also similar stone and brick at the bottom. And that's it. If you have any questions.
Thank you. We'll ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Chairman Peretz. This is a fairly straightforward petition. There is an existing entranceway that was, as the petitioner mentioned, built as part of a renovation project that occurred in the 70s. In general, the existing building, the historic building, is architecturally very interesting, given that it was a powerhouse originally and converted to a single-family home. The proposal before the commission tonight is really, in effect, a modification to the detailing of that entranceway. In order to do so, they do need to remove the existing structure and replace it with a new structure, given the proposed detailing. But it is an in-kind replacement, no change in height, no change in footprint, and it's really before the commission to provide comment and approve, if the commission finds appropriate, the detailing that's proposed for that element. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Okay, thank you. I noticed there's not a bulk calculation included in the package. Did I miss that, or is that not required because it's just a replacement in kind, or?
At this time, we did not do an overall building scale calculation for just that reason. It's really just resurfacing the existing
I see. Okay,
skin.
thank you. All right, any other questions, comments for the petitioner? I think there's probably a couple. Gotta be a couple.
Well,
Why, oh, go ahead.
go, no, please.
I was wondering, why is it that you want to put the skylights on the roof?
They would like to keep that same feel that they have there now. When you first come into the house, the original house has a long, dark hallway. And right now, they do use that as almost like the little foyer to get to the main house. And they do enjoy the fact that the existing structure has a lot of light when you come in. So they would still like to maintain the feel of an old-fashioned conservancy. These are some sampled pictures of structures that normally you would see in these newer conservancies, and that's kind of the look that they're trying to achieve by putting the skylights, but in a more traditional.
So you're trying to kind of marry that look with a little bit of Tudor, or rather cedar, because it's more like
Right.
arts and crafts, I guess is what I should say. Okay. Are you going to then be
Quite an interesting house because it has a very large elevation, and this is a sort of a diminutive entrance to it, actually. And I
Yeah.
think that, you know, in terms of just grading the work and how you've detailed it and what you've done, there's probably minor comments to that. I think we're all scratching our head a little bit about whether or not the scale of this entrance is appropriate for this house, which of course I'm not sure we get to vote on. So that's why I asked the bulk question, because it's actually, it's almost, when you see the elevation of this house, it almost begs for a larger, more kind of formidable entrance.
Sure.
And so that's why I think Guy asks about the intent of the skylights, and I asked about the, but I understand what you're doing, and I suspect that this is a fairly large house on this lot. So I think we have the petition that's before us to grade, as opposed to, gee, what else could we do here? Which is enticing to think about.
Can I see the south elevation shot? I'm wondering about the crown over the entry. It just seems like it falls short a bit. I would like to see it extended.
The rate detail or just the head?
Do you have this shot?
You're talking about the, that elevation. You're talking
That
about
one,
how
right.
the roof finishes on the column capitals?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just would like to see it extended a bit. Sort of echoing.
That's actually a
echoing the
detail that
main
we
house.
fight about all the time. Historically, it's correct like this, but there is a
Something just
point of view
doesn't
that
look
tells you
right.
to extend it too. So it's not necessarily correct either way. I don't know, but it's an interesting thing.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Did the petitioner consider anything else besides the sort of glass and beam concept that is currently there and you're kind of hanging on to here? I know you said that they like the amount of light.
Yeah, they did.
The problem I'm having with it is that, certainly the entrance, which they had nothing to do with, is completely out of place with this house. And I'm not getting a feeling that the entrance that they're trying to, which is a vast improvement, and your design taken by itself there's nothing wrong with it.
Sure.
I'm just not feeling like this is appropriate for this house as it is.
They did look at
even aside from the scale, just the design of it.
They did look at photographs of the other samples of glass structures, and they did look at that and just replacing it with just another glass structure. But you would get about the same feel because they're very thin and in scale, and also I think the main reason why they wanted to do this is to they love the house, they love the detailing, they love the architecture of it, and they just wanted to bring that into that entry feature as much as they could, because that's
Besides being a transitory point, is it anything else? I mean, have they thought about making that into some type of open porch if they're looking to have a entranceway of some type? Have they thought about something like that?
Not an open porch, because they do use that. That is almost their foyer. When they come in, they do have a little place to sit and take your shoes. And other than that, once you go into the main house, you're in a hallway, 3-foot hallway for a good 20, 30 feet. So they do need that space enclosed.
Yeah, I was thinking the porch idea myself. And this is very odd, because what's on there now is
Well, anything's improvement.
I suppose if there was nothing on there and we saw this, because it's kind of like you're trying to beef it up and make it look heavy, because the house has that stripped out look, and yet you want it to be light and ephemeral like the glass house that's on there now. And it's I guess we're just not sure how that's going to look when it's done. And then the dilemma is that, well, the thing that's on there now looks about as appropriate as a sharp stick in the eye. So I can't see this as being, I don't know. I was thinking that the porch idea was intriguing, and then I was wondering if you probably need the space. I don't see the floor plan. You don't have a floor plan, do you? Because I know the floor plans are like generators. They don't drive stuff, but we try to be sympathetic with how you live in these houses, because the better your environment inside, the more likely the house will survive. And we want to be nice people about that. But inside the house, you don't have the next room. It's a hallway, right?
Yeah, it's just a hallway. Yeah.
I was just wondering if, for aesthetics and a little bit of both, if you were to maybe put the front door back one of those bays on the glass above, so you did have porch-like elements, that your posts were actually like solid hewn columns, and that they had that porch look, and then maybe the glass started back. I don't know. I don't want to design it. Maybe that's just going to fall on its face too. Yeah, you got me on this one.
I
Okay.
think there's just so much light, coming into this area, there are just so many windows and skylights. Maybe just to remove the side lights, or choose a different front door that's maybe a bit more solid might help a little bit, because it's not like we need the light from the front, from the south, because we're getting it from the roof and the sides.
Sure. Yeah, we can
That
definitely
might
look
make
at
it feel a little
different
more
doors.
substantial.
Yeah.
So you can see what we're doing here. We're beyond kind of like we like everything except for this little bit over here. Now, I think there's a danger, and so I guess I'll ask this as a question since it's not deliberation. There's this very, very large elevation. It's almost 25 feet or more to the left of this entrance. And so this is a very large house. Fortunately, it's largely masked by landscaping most of the time if you look at the elevation. So I guess if we just dealt with this entry as an element that you approach as a pedestrian, knowing that there's this bigger bulk behind it, then I think what we want to do is we want to at least have the scale of the detailing on this entry be correct. And so we're asking about things like the skylights and about whether the doors are correct or not. And there's a couple of ideas that I have for you that, I guess I would ask the question, are you open to some suggestions, and are you open to a process where maybe you look and study at a couple of those?
Sure, definitely.
Because if there's not a dire need to get this work done tomorrow, I think it might be improved by some study. Unless anybody else has a different direction. I'm tempted to recommend that we table this one, but I would like to give you a little more feedback. The first problem, I think, for myself is that we've got this very large element, this very small element. And so now you got to try to figure out how to fool people into believing that this isn't so small.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it doesn't have to be any bigger to do that, but when you load it up with a lot of details, it helps make it seem even smaller because so much is going on in such a confined space. Maybe the way that the roof overhangs even forward and on the sides could improve that. Maybe if you take the detailing of the medallions and instead of doing the same size medallions that you have on the elevation, you bring those down to a scale that's appropriate for just this facade. So you know what I'm saying? If they're 2 feet in square up on the other facade, maybe they should be 12 inches square or 10 inches or something like that. And maybe they should fall into a field, and it doesn't have to be 2 of them, there could be 3 of them. They should be appropriate for the size of the facade of this little building here. I don't know if 2 doors are appropriate, if 1 door is appropriate, if the side lights should go, if they shouldn't go, but I think those are all things that, we like the idea of you changing this, so don't take that badly. And we also are tinkering with, your design here and fine tuning, so please don't take that badly either. I think we're just trying to suggest some things that, might improve this. But I think unless you have other ideas, I think that I'd like to go that direction. If you have any other thoughts, Guy, or
Well, how does the owner feel about this? Do you just want to tear this off and put a new one on? What we're trying to do is we're trying to offer, I guess, some aesthetic direction and input, but we're not trying to tell you, gee, you can't fix something that's needs upgrading. So. We hate to make it sound like we're nitpicking, and we probably do sound that way, potentially.
We are nitpicking.
Is this process irritating that we're saying these things, or is this potentially?
And you don't have the benefit of the years of research. So all of your questions and elements, suggestions are exactly several paths we've already taken.
Yes.
I've done a lot of research, Oakley,
Mr. Cutler?
Yeah. Maybe
you could please come on up and.
What you're saying is very intriguing and helpful.
Yeah.
So maybe we should have you introduce yourself. It's a part of the protocol, and we better follow it.
I do appreciate your questions. A lot of the
you.
ideas you've mentioned are things we have looked into.
Yeah.
And really, what first caught our idea, we love this house. I don't know if you know any of the history of the McCormick estate. Ed Liddy's got the main house, we've got the powerhouse, et cetera. So we've done a lot to reclaim it from some of the damage that was done during the 70s, changes, et cetera. So as we started looking at the front, this was like 6-7 years ago on some of my business trips, was when I first encountered true, 100, 150-year-old conservatories over in Europe, et cetera. So I started doing the research, and that's when I came across Town and Country and Oakleaf. So we're trying to take some of their elements, and probably the drawings don't necessarily give it justice to get the feel of what the design looks like. Now, certainly modifications per your feedback would be under consideration, but we were trying to really keep the openness, but yet put it so that when you walk up to the house or drive into the parking space, you would not know that wasn't part of the original house. And that's, you know, some of the timbering, you know, some of the details, the true divided light, you know, all the classic things you would expect. And again, taking some of the design hints from, you know, the Oak Leaf Renaissance Town and Country approach. But, so that's part of the background.
All right, yeah, thank you. I should ask if there's any other public testimony. We've moved to that section of the agenda, so now we can deliberate.
Well, you know, it's interesting listening to him talk about it, because I guess if you imagine you saw this in an English magazine and they had done this retrofit and it was done elegantly, as he says, it probably is that we don't have a big sort of detail, and we are apprehensive about exactly what does that crown look like. Is it really a wonderfully pressed piece and seamlessly sort of is so elegant? And maybe that's the issue, that we're apprehensive that the metaphors are being mixed and the outcome wouldn't look good. So I'm sort of reassured by your explanation at this point. So I think he knows what he would like, and I agree that could be great. How does that sound,
Right.
Chairman?
That sounds good. You know, I still actually think that the design could be improved by changing the way the medallions are above these two doors. I do think that they're at the scale of the big building, not at the little building. What do you think of that, Guy?
Oh, that would be interesting. Maybe some additional detail and things like that might be of interest to us to see. I don't know.
I'd like to see a matching crown.
Well, it's an awfully large eave on the main house, though, so we
Yeah.
might have issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
don't know.
that's really
Think that's okay?
that's the big problem is that no matter what we do to this, we're not gonna put it in to a vernacular that ties into this other elevation. You know, it's not gonna, they couldn't match that. It wouldn't be the appropriate scale for an entrance anyway. It's such a large building behind it. So it needs to, I actually think it needs to be removed from the vernacular. It wants to tie in, so I think it's okay, but, I don't know, you know, maybe I'm
You know, what's there now
This is
is
better than what's
certainly
now.
not something we
Yeah.
want
Well,
to keep, and we don't
how
want to
about
discourage
how
the
about this?
petitioner in
How
any
about
way.
this? I'm in favor of letting them carry on with their direction, because from what he described, I can imagine that taken to the next level of detail could be actually quite elegant and work, because it is kind of an unusual experience right now, because, you know, you're walking into a side of a room right now. I would be comfortable with letting them go ahead and work out their bigger details, maybe pass it by staff, and if staff feels a need for potentially asking for some more input or another review, maybe then they could have that discussion. And if it looks like it's going in a direction that I feel more comfortable with now, then that would be all right. How does staff feel about that approach?
I think that would be appropriate. I will add just a little background on this property. This is a lot in depth, so the proposed modifications as now, with no change to the footprint or extension of the roof, would not spark the need for a zoning variance. Any increase in size really offers some challenges due to the current setbacks on the property. Additionally, Chairman Peretz, you had inquired about a building scale variance, and early on in the process of looking at this property, the petitioner did do a preliminary building scale calculation. We don't have the exact lot size right now, but I would guess that this home is pretty built out for the property. So just some background information for you to think about. To answer Commissioner Berg's question, I think we can certainly work with the petitioner in either direction. We can work with them with an approval, or we can work with them to bring something back to you.
All right, I'm going to ask for a motion then, in that case.
You're gonna have to lay it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't look this
I
way.
make a motion that we approve the petition as submitted with a special provision that as the details are more developed, that the petitioner consult with staff, and if the direction appears to be consistent with tonight's deliberations, that they be granted a certificate of appropriateness, and in the event that perhaps they would like more input, we'd be more than happy to somehow arrange that, however the staff feels that would be most productive and, efficient.
So moved by Commissioner Burke.
Well, I'll
Oh,
second
sorry.
it, because I was gonna say exactly that same thing.
That's seconded by Commissioner Ransom. All in favor, say aye.
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 Good-
That one
good luck
passes.
with it.
Good luck with it. That's a tricky little one.
It's a really neat place, too.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
yes.
really, and we appreciate y'all
I'm glad
taking
we could
such good
resolve
care of
that
it.
to your satisfaction tonight. All right, we have a request for certificate of appropriateness approving partial demolition and addition at 85 East Westminster. And I'll ask again if we have any ex parte conflicts.
Nope.
And I see none, so we'll take another conversation from,
Hello again.
Hello.
Thanks for listening to this petition. This is for the Mano residence at 85 East Westminster, and we're requesting removal of an addition of the existing home and then replacing it with a new addition, a larger addition. And the home was originally designed by Walter Frazier, and this is the front photograph looking from Westminster towards the front of the home. It's a neoclassical design, very nice proportions, mostly stucco with a standing seam copper roof. A lot of classical elements like pilaster details and pediments. And looking at the streetscapes, there's a mix of homes on the block. This one you don't even know it's there because it's so shrouded by landscape and fencing and walls that it's a secret little, I think, paradise back there. It's really a beautiful piece of property. Upper left-hand corner. So this is at the corner of Oakwood and Westminster. So you're looking southeast. Does that make sense? Yeah, southeast. Yeah. I think this is looking to the west, and the Manos are up on the left up there. This is another streetscape looking southwest. This is looking east, and this one is looking west, and the Mano residence is beyond this colonial frame home on the left. So let's go to the next. So here, see another view from the street looking at the home. So here's the garage on the first level here. And so the one-story addition exists on the east side of the home over here. This is the view from Green Bay Road. You can see the fence, heavily wooded, some other views. Now here's a good view. This is right at the throat of the driveway looking down the service entry at the home. The addition that exists now is just off to the right. And you can see a low-height garden wall with steps right there. And so that concept, we're going to rebuild the retaining wall, the garden wall, and the steps is going to shift over to the east. Here we have close-up views. Once you're in the courtyard, this is a view towards the home right now. So here's the one-story addition. I don't know when this addition was built. It looks older to me, so it could be, I would be guessing, but I think it's not recent. And the reason I think that is because the windows are true divided light. They look very similar to the windows on the home. Although there's windows on the back side that are completely different than French doors. And this is a completely flat roof. It has some pilaster detailing, but it doesn't quite match some of the pilaster detailing that's on the bays on the rear of the home. So there's some differences. So our intent is to keep our addition as a one-story, but to add a low sloping hip roof that matches the roof of the existing home, so copper standing seam roof. So here's another view of the addition. Here's a back view of the home, and let's look again at the rear elevation. So that's right behind the main mass of the home, looking towards their living room. this bay is a living room. And the bays that I'm speaking about are on both sides of the living room. There's a lot of wood detailing that's on these bays that we're capturing with our addition. So let's look at the drawings. So here is a site plan, and I've got cross-hatched in darker hatching the existing footprint right there. And so the new footprint is the lighter hatching. And this addition is going to be a kitchen extension, a breakfast room, and basically a family room. On the plans, it's called a city room, but it's essentially a family room. This home is very formal on the existing home. There is no family room, no breakfast room. It's all formal rooms. And the kitchen is where they spend all their time, and it's very small. So part of the addition is going to be an extension of the kitchen, and then it's going to flow into the breakfast room and family room, which is going to be a great amenity for them to really enjoy this home. They've actually lived here for 15 years, and I started working on this addition back in 2007, believe it or not. And for various reasons, stopped and started, and so we're back at it. So we're really happy that they're going to get the rooms that they really have been dreaming about for quite a while. So to get into some details about the siding, you can see this is the 20-foot setback line. So it's almost to the setback line, but we're not beyond it. So we're not asking for variances. It is nice that the garage projects out fairly significantly, so that really this element becomes very subsidiary and kind of very recessed from when you look at the front of the home. So I think it's a very quiet addition, even though the footprint is bigger. I think being a one-story and where it's located really significantly reduces its impact, particularly with all the mature vegetation that's at the front. So vegetation-wise, there are a lot of trees and old yews, but we did speak to Rocco Fiore. Came out, looked at it. He's working on a plan, but I've developed one based on our conversation. So we do feel that there is some removal that should be done. Those yews, when I first looked at them, I thought they were very old arborvitaes, but they're actually yews. I've never seen yews that large. But they're on the decline, and so they are in the way, the branches are in the footprint of the addition. So our intent is to remove those declining yews and put up new screen hedging, arborvitae hedging along the fence line. So I'll go further. I have a landscape plan to show you in regards to that. So let's go to the elevations. This is the front elevation. And you can see how we've kept the classical proportion and detailing. They still, you need access to the basement and to the side door. So that's what this staircase is. There's a stair going up to the side door and then a stair going down to the basement. So we've used the same proportion and type of windows that are on the existing home. So there are 3 sashes, double hungs, very large. They're in keeping with particularly the bays on the back side of the home. This is a breakfast room, and so they want to keep it very bright. It's more of a kind of a pavilion feel, garden pavilion feel to it. So we have a nice architrave matching the gutter detail, and of course the roof, the hip roof. Materials are wood on the pilasters, wood windows. It has a stucco base that matches the home, and a limestone cap on the stucco base. And the chimney is also stucco. The garden wall is stucco with a stone cap. So the detailing here is going to match the existing home. This is the east elevation, so you see the existing garage doors. You can see the chimney. This is the family room area. This is the breakfast room area. So there are steps here, French doors. There's a garden bench that we're going to have in a sidewalk, a bluestone walk. Actually, it's a limestone walkway that's going to meet up with the existing limestone terrace in the back. There is a walk there now. We're shifting it towards the east. This is a view from the south elevation. So there's a modification to the kitchen window so that we can get a more balanced cabinet design on the interior wall. And then we have this kind of a kitchen extension here, which is a stucco wall, and this is the family room pavilion with similar detailing to the bay windows on the home. This is a west elevation, so looking at how the family room extends. And again, similar detailing on that elevation to the other elevations. This is where the terrace is, and so that's an important access point from the room to the outdoors. There's actually very limited access, interestingly enough, on this home to the terrace in the backyard. It's mostly windows, and there's actually only one door on the back. So this is going to greatly improve their accessibility to the backyard and enjoy that wonderful landscape that they have back there. So this is a landscape plan based on rescreening the east side. You can see this is an existing tree. Now this is an ash, which is considered to be not a great tree. I think we're going to take a closer look at it and see. Our intent is to keep it, but it's not a great tree. I'd almost rather put a nice new tree there, but for now we're going to say that it's staying, and that will be another point of conversation. So it's going to stay, and then these are going to be the arborvitaes that are going to replace the yews that are there, and then there's some Cornus moss bushes there too. So we're going to kind of clean that up. It's a very kind of untidy part of the yard, so we're going to really make that a little bit more elegant than it is now. So here's the sidewalk, and we have plantings around the perimeter of the addition. These are yew hedges. Those are consistent details that occur in the backyard right now. There's extensive hedging, and so that takes, again, its cue from some of the existing landscaping. You can see how the terrace here is tied into the addition right here. Again, so we have some yews that are, there's a big window well that is very difficult to see right now. And so we want to continue keeping that screened. And this is an existing yew hedge that's going to remain. There's a nice flower garden here. And so we're going to match up that on this side with the flower garden. And so you have a nice axial view from the family room. These are the retaining walls that we're going to rebuild with the steps. So, so from the front, we want to maintain a lot of the detail and elegance that exists on the home. So I think that is it. So be great to hear any questions that you have. Thanks.
All right, great. Complicated little proposal. You can see why you've been working on it for a while.
Yeah,
I'll look for a staff report.
Thank you, Chairman. This request, as was mentioned, is for the partial demolition of what appears to be a later addition based on a review of city records. We couldn't find the date that area was actually built. But certainly upon looking at the addition in the context of the full composition of the house, it does not appear to be a defining aspect of the design. There are findings in support of the partial demolition of this piece in your staff report. What's interesting about this home is that you never really view the full elevation at any one given time, whether it's the extensive vegetation along the street or the way that the building is configured. And the replacement addition is really designed to be sensitive to the detailing of the original house, but not overpower the main mass. It's almost like a separate pavilion piece to the main house. With respect to the preliminary landscape plan that was presented this evening, one of the conditions of approval is that a detailed landscape plan be developed as part of this request, and that the petitioner work with the city certified arborist to look at the existing trees, to look at the yews, and really develop a plan that maintains the same level of screening that's there now, but enhances the landscape and quality of plant material in that area. I'd be happy to answer any questions. There are also positive findings for the proposed addition in your staff report.
All right, thank you. Questions for the petitioner or for the staff? If we have any.
You intend to match the existing windows on the original house, right? Is that the idea?
Right, that's the idea, the triple sash configuration. So it's a large double hung with a transom above. And so, yeah, we want to match the muntins and the the number of lights and as many details as we
Do
can.
do all the windows in the original part of the house, are they all the same? I mean, are they all original windows?
They appear to be all original windows, except for this addition. There's, on the back side, those appear to be maybe 20 years old, 15 years old.
And likewise on the roof, the roofing is just a matching roof.
Right, right. We're going to do copper and try to actually patina it so that we get the green quicker.
Really?
Yeah, there's an acid you can put on it. We're looking into it to see how that works.
Cool.
We want it to be blotchy, you know, so we got to, take some skill. We'll see.
Yeah.
Do it poorly.
Yeah,
Yeah, you might rather wait.
yeah, right. Let it do naturally. We'll test it out.
And I don't have any other questions. If I don't have any questions, I'll ask if there's any public testimony. And if anyone does have any, come on up. So, we have no public testimony, no questions. It's deliberation time if we have any. I think it's a very nice proposal. It's obviously a complicated little piece of work, so there's a lot of stuff going on, but we appreciate the attention to detail. I like it.
I like it also.
I really like it a lot, too, and it shows that you've given this a lot of time to kind of gestate and things. The tops of chimneys will all match, too, right? I mean, that's the look.
Right,
It's
it's a
got
very
that-
simple detail.
Yeah.
It's like almost no detail.
Yeah, it's probably almost like we wouldn't do that if we were doing
Right.
it from scratch. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
well, neat. I'm in favor of the petition.
All right.
I'd make a motion to approve the petition based on the staff findings and subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ransom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by both commissioners. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So there's another pass for, we're on a roll tonight. Congratulations. and
Thank
Good
you very
luck with
much.
it. Thanks.
All right.
Please, go ahead. John Guy was pointing out the location of the gutters, the downspouts on the rear of this house. If you're looking for something to do, you might want to look at those on the existing house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some modifications.
Just a suggestion. All right, thank you.
There's some repair work to do on these, if you know,
I didn't look at that, but.
Yeah, good.
On the, we have an agenda item, one more agenda item for this evening. It's a request for certificate of appropriateness approving a partial demolition and an addition at 85 East Westminster. So if you want to go ahead and set that up, we're going to take a couple-minute break here while Guy comes back. So if anybody else needs a break. Oh, I said the wrong one, didn't I? It's 970 East Deer Path, right? Sorry about that. I did the last petition twice. Yeah. All right, so I will ask if we have any ex parte conflicts on 970 East Deer Path. And I see none, so that's good. And go ahead and let us.
Good evening.
Yeah,
My
thank
name
you.
is Terry Tackberry. I'm with Contact Construction, and I'm representing Peter and Elizabeth Hamilton. The current home at 970 East Deer Path was built 31 years ago by Mrs. Hafner of Lake Forest. The home was built on a former estate owned by the Salisbury Berg family. Their home burned to the ground and was never rebuilt. The property was subdivided and Mrs. Hafner bought one of the parcels and built her home. The architectural drawings were by Charles Page. The home is in a historical district, but the home is not historical. The Hamiltons would like to build the home was not built for a modern family, and there is no laundry room except for a closet space next to the garage. In order to bring the house into the 21st century, the current owners would like to add a laundry room on the second floor above the current hallway and laundry closet. This is Deer Path right here. This is the orientation of the existing home. The driveway comes in, and what the side of the house is really is the front of the house. Let me better explain that by a photograph. This is the entrance to 970 Deer Path in photo number 1. And this particular photograph on the bottom is approaching the entrance from the west, headed towards Lake Street. The current home is oriented that the sideway, let me see if I can get this to show. The current home, as you come in the driveway, this would be the front of the house, but it would actually be considered a side. The front would be this photograph here, which affronts Deer Path Road. So we are proposing to add the second-story addition from this might have been easier as a PowerPoint next time around. Okay, so this would be the front of the house. This would be considered the back of the house. And again, this is before the addition, and this would be the proposed addition. And this would be the front of the addition right here, the proposed addition. The addition is designed to add symmetry to the home. It also is in character with the existing home and scale and continuity. We would be using the same brick and the cedar shake roof would be the same. The shutters, the windows, all the materials are available today, including the brick, which is a very good match. It's one of the hardest things to match is the brick, and it's a good match. So when this house when the addition is complete and the cedar roof weathers, it will be hard to distinguish the difference between the addition and the new home, or the addition and the existing home. The addition will not be seen from the road or right-of-way, and be barely visible from the adjoining properties. I have some other photographs here to share with you of the surrounding properties. This is photograph number 4 of 810 Lake Road. It's the service entrance, and it would be just east of the driveway to 970. And you can see that the main part of the house is here, and this is the other front of the 810 Lake Drive. So this would be the location of the addition from that point of view. And this would be, as you approach the entrance to 970, this would be one house west of 970. And this is a streetscape in front of. This photograph would be taken from 830 Lake Viewpoint. So that would be, if I could just overlay this here, that would be taken from this location looking to the south. As I said before, this is the view from 970. It's the entrance. This is 810 Service Drive entrance there, and then this would be the 940 Deer Path, which is one house west of 970. The proposed addition qualifies with the building scale and environmental ordinances standards established, and we are asking for your approval. Do you have any questions?
All right, thank you. We'll get to that. We will, I'm sure. I'll ask if we have a staff report.
Yes, you do. Thank you, Chairman Peretz. As was mentioned by the petitioner, this home is within the historic district, but the home was built in the 1970s and really isn't considered a historic house within the district. The request before the commission this evening is for a building scale variance to allow the second-story addition to the home. The building scale and environment ordinance requires that the first standard outlined in the ordinance be met with respect to the design standards for the addition, and that one of the remaining 5 standards also be met in order for the commission to support a building scale variance. In this case, there are positive findings for the building scale variance as well as the architectural design. I think in this case the project is probably better explained by either the photographs or when viewed on the property. The proposal is to construct the second-story addition to the north in a similar manner that was done to the south, the view that you see as you approach the house from Deer Path. With respect to the standards for the building scale variance, the project would not be seen from the street. It really doesn't create a project that's out of scale for the surrounding houses or for this particular structure. So staff is recommending approval of the project. But welcome your comments and questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, questions? I have one question.
Okay.
If you look at the second floor plan of the laundry room,
Okay.
and if you were to shift the entire plan towards the, I don't know which way is which here, but towards the, what I'll call the back of the house, it would have the effect of lowering the front of the wall along the front of the, on what you're calling the front elevation.
Okay.
And so the question is that actually possible? Because what happens on the back of this house is the roof hides most of the wall because the roof is climbing, you know, you're in a deeper section of the roof, and so it's hiding the back wall. On the front of the house, you're close to the front of the house, so it's presenting a larger elevation. And I'm just curious as to whether or not the stairwell would actually allow you to shift that. Now, I think what you've done is you've held that line because the brick wall below it is
That's right.
supporting the brick
Correct.
wall. So if you
Absolutely.
did shift it back, it would require you to go to siding at the front, which is what you've done on the back and the sides.
That's absolutely right.
So it's kind of a trade-off as what do you want to see? Do you want to see a larger brick element here or a smaller sided element on the front of the house? But functionally, it would work either way, right?
It could be shifted to the back as long as we can keep the stairs from the top of the landing in the laundry room. It actually works better where it's located now for the reason of the brick and the tie-in of the hip roof. And additionally, it takes care of some pockets on the existing roof that have been a problem with respects of clearing the debris from the trees. I can see if I can find you you might have an existing plan, roof plan there. I don't know if you,
Well, any other questions while folks are looking at that? No
Yeah.
questions? Okay.
The house gives an overall feeling of being kind of symmetrical, and it's not, but it kind of, you know, gives that appearance. And the length of the addition, I feel like the coining just doesn't quite line up. I mean, it could almost be much shorter or line up. Does that bother you on the front elevation?
Oh, you mean with the,
You know, do you want, I don't want to see
Yeah,
it
yeah,
like
yeah, I see.
line
are you
up
referring to
or be a little shorter?
where it's lining up with the corner of the garage?
Yes, the
corning?
corning of the garage, yes.
Okay.
I would either want to see it
Yeah.
try to line up or be much shorter, but right now it just looks off.
Okay. When you take a look at this particular floor plan, this is the first floor. This would represent the area in which the second-story addition is constructed, and it does load currently over the garage wall and this wall as well. So in order for us to move it further over, it becomes off-bearing, and since we do have brick to carry there, we're trying to avoid having to put steel in to
Yeah,
the...
I just was looking at the way it translates from the exterior, and that was, I don't know whether that bothers anyone else, but,
I don't think that you'll see that particular, that's a kind of a trick of the elevation, I think.
All
I think in
right.
3 dimensions that goes away. So, all right, well, I don't know if we have any other questions. I'll ask if there's public deliberation today. Any public deliberation? There's none, so we can deliberate ourselves. I actually think that it meets the requirements in my mind either way. I think that there's an opportunity, if you wanted to explore it, to actually back this up, not make it longer or shorter, but back it to the back. And I think if you did that, you could even remove the brick and it wouldn't bother me, because I don't actually mind that this second-story element be sided amongst the brick, since it's sided on 2 sides anyway. To me, I think it's a wash, but frankly, I think it either way would work fine, so I'd give you that latitude even, but Any other deliberations?
I don't have any. I see your point, Kurt, and it's actually kind of, I think in the event that this was a house that had more provenance and, you know, things associated with it, we'd probably make that something to be looked at, because, you know, you could go back quite a ways. But you'd have to put something in the attic space of that, which is not an undoable thing. I guess my thought about it is that at this particular point, considering where it's located, that would be like a homeowner, you know, maybe
That's right.
consideration
Yeah.
if they think it would make the front elevation look a little bit more
agree.
proper for the style. I mean, this is a you know, French style home, I believe we'd call it, kind of a French Renaissance style, and maybe moving it back might make it look a little less intrusive on the facade, and that's how I would probably leave it. It's an astute observation on your part, though, Chairman.
Gee, thanks. All right, I'll ask for a motion, and the motion can't be that it was an astute observation.
Can I make a comment based on?
If you'd like to.
Yeah.
Sure.
We earlier considered that as being a possibility, but clearly we felt as though from the entrance of the house, there is no siding visible, and since we were able to get a matching brick that with the coining and the same size windows and shutters, that it would be more in keeping with that side of the house and not look like an addition. And that's the primary reason we are holding those lines.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think you could debate that back and forth myself,
Okay.
whether it will look like an addition or not. I don't think that the choice of materials will necessarily be the only definition of whether someone will perceive that as addition. I think diminishing that mass might be equally important. But I think that what we've heard from the rest of the commissioners is that we're okay with it either way, and we would give you the latitude to make, you know, a change to that if you'd like. But we're fine with the presentation pending a motion and an approval. So if anyone would like to
I
make.
would move to approve the petition as posed in the staff report based on their findings and subject to the conditions of approval therein.
So moved by Commissioner Ransom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Swenson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that one passes. Congratulations.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck, and I
Appreciate
think
your
you
time.
could, you know, have a little latitude with respect to that last thing we talked about.
Okay.
Either way, I think it'd be fine. It's a nice looking home.
Okay.
And be a great addition. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that.
All right, other items. This is an opportunity for the public to address the Historic Preservation Commission on non-agenda items, if we have any of those, such things. And it looks like we do. So please come on up and introduce yourself and let us know.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Rami Lopat, and I live at 410 East Woodland Road in Lake Forest. First of all, that was quite an astonishing agenda of houses. That was really impressive and nice calls on
Thank
your
you.
part. I wanted to bring two issues to your attention in the hope that you would take an interest in each of them and maybe weigh in on them either informally or formally. One, I'm not going to go into too much, but there are two of them. It involves the South Beach Access Road in Forest Park. It's an engineering department project which will drastically alter a permanent structure in the historic district. And that permanent structure is the road, but it also involves other structures such as a guardrail, sheet pile wall, and curbing. And it is a land altering activity, which is also in your ordinance. So, and that land altering activity will really change the landscape and the streetscape of this historic park. Now, there's lots of other projects going on in this park, so it's kind of complicated, but this one is a little outside of the boundaries of the Forest Park Master Plan, but nonetheless, this part of the park was also designed by O.C. Simons in 1896. As I see this plan unfolding, it's going to drastically alter the streetscape from a very rustic and kind of enclosed area leading down to the South Beach. Hopefully, over time, in the next couple of months, there'll be a landscaping plan that comes forward. Nonetheless, if you put a 120-foot guardrail along that road, it will drastically change its look. I'm hoping that you can take a look at that. I'm hoping that you can figure out what might make that guardrail go away completely, how we could hide it, mask it. Perhaps it could be a stone wall that might mimic the 1890s kinds of bridges that we have in this town. Something, anything that will make this not be a suburban road cutting through the park. So that's the first issue.
Okay.
The second one concerns the road on which I live, but I see it as an example of other places in Lake Forest, in the historic district of Lake Forest. As I said, I live on Woodland Road, so woodland is the operative word here. We have, there's a home on Woodland Road between McKinley Road and Sheridan Road that was a very highly wooded lot. The homeowners decided to remove trees, came to the city for a permit. Only, I think, 15 trees, because of their diameter, needed to be permitted. But about 75 trees came down out of that front yard. It went overnight, well, not overnight, over the course of a week, it went from highly shaded woodland to a now completely open property. There was no replacement landscape plan, nor was this phased in any way, nor were the neighbors notified. Now, Ms. Cerniak and I have exchanged correspondence on this, and we haven't had a time to meet. And she says that procedures have been tightened up. But nonetheless, our streetscapes are important. It's modified this so drastically, and there's others on that same road and around the historic district that I've seen the same kind of thing happen, where the homeowner takes down the landscape. We're asked to replace that woodland buffer, but it never happens. It doesn't materialize. So I'd like you to take a look at it. I'd like you to think about it personally. Perhaps as a commission, it's important, and I hope you will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other items from the public? And I see none. I think it's worth a comment. This is our opportunity for additional information from staff anyway, so I think that there is potentially some information about the beach project that we're at least considering in terms of hearing that. Maybe you could give us some information on that.
The South Beach Access Road is a separate project from the entire Forest Beach Master Plan. The City Council has been considering the South Beach Access Road project for a few months. The road is failing, so they did feel it was important to move forward. The council has heard the request that elements of that South Beach Road infrastructure project come before the commission, and they have chosen, at least at this point, to move forward to address the road issues. Certainly as Forest Park comes forward, if there are pieces or decisions made through that master plan that would require changes, those could occur over time. But right now, the city attorney has weighed in also that the South Beach Access Road improvement itself is an infrastructure project. So that's the decision that the council has made at this point. The Woodland Road project is scheduled to come before you on August 10th. So you will see that, and we'll describe what has happened, and it didn't go exactly as perhaps it should have, but because of that, we are bringing it forward to the commission for review. So we'll give you a full explanation of that one in time for your next meeting.
All right, thank you. Any other business?
Well, I would like to make a small announcement that the Lake Forest High School class of 1971 is having their 40th and only reunion this Saturday, this weekend, and I just want to pass that information out in case anybody is...
That's your class.
That's your father's class, is that?
Exactly, correct.
Congratulations, nice announcement. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn unless there's any other business.
I just wanted to, I did mention it, but just to be clear, you do have a special meeting because of the number of agenda items. That meeting is scheduled for August 10th, which
Thank you.
is that a Wednesday? That is a Wednesday. It will be here, and it will be at 6:30.
And we're looking forward to being here.
Okay, I'd move to adjourn.
All right, a motion's been made by Commissioner Ransom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Berg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that passes. Thank you. Good night.